So we're here at Superbooth 2017 with Tyler from WMD. We've got some new modules, some stuff we've already seen at NAMM. Do you want to walk us through the patch and the system?
Yeah, sure. The main thing that's like the brain of this whole patch right now is the trigger sequencer, which you're showing off, which is a 16-track trigger sequencer. You can go up to 256 steps per track, and you can do independent track lengths. And you can also cue tracks while another one's playing and like write new variations while still playing, which is awesome. You have a lot of different features we can go into, but first I'll just kind of start opening tracks up. So this is the melody, which is being clocked, and it's clocking the Arpitecht. And so I'm just sending straight 16th notes to arpeggiate the clock. And then another clock is just telling the voltage block to step and then change the note arrangement within your scale. So it's CV in the notes knob, which is giving you the different progression. So I'm just using 4 steps to do that. And so what's cool about the Arpitecht, you can set your octave range for the arpeggiation, so you can make it 1 octave and up to the full thing. You can transpose to whatever key you want to be in. So we'll just go back to that scale. You can change your scale, which is your mode, so major, minor, and up to chromatic. You have 16 different scale types. And then the notes knob just is changing the note selection within your scale. So with it all the way clockwise, you get your full scale. As you turn it back, it removes notes out of your scale in different combinations. So variations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 until you have the entire scale.
So you can really musically build the harmonic content and what notes are going to be available.
Yeah, so I really love using it with the voltage block or like a slow sequence, just like a DC voltage sequencer. And you can like basically come up with chord progressions. And you can also, it becomes brilliant with the triad expander. I don't have it patched in, but basically you can use another lane of like the voltage block or anything and basically tell it to change chord structure per bar or however often you want it to change chords.
So you get like a second pad layer if you want it, chord layer on top of the arpeggiator.
And it follows the scale and mode, like scale and key that you're in. So if you transpose it, you'll see that the triad moves with your scale. It transposes along with the Arpitecht. And then down here you have different rhythm knobs. So the main rhythm knob selects how it responds to the clock. So with it all the way open, it just 1-to-1 ratio is what it'll do. And then it starts doing rhythmic patterns until you like basically divide it by like I think 16.
It wasn't just basic division though, we were getting different rhythms as well as divisions.
And then you have a slide rhythm, which basically if you have the slide time all the way down, you won't hear it slide, but if you're using the gate output, you'll hear it gate.
You're getting notes that merge together.
Yeah, so it'll just hold on that note and you'll see, it'll pause. It's kind of arpeggiating fast, but it'll hold on that note. And then if you turn the slide knob, you get that. And then up here you have switches to choose the direction you're arpeggiating, so up or down. You have up, down, which is in the center. Just go back to up. And then you have this root enable disable switch, so you can add whatever your root note of the scale is. So right now we're in C. Well, you can disable the C, so then you can have rootless progressions, which is a lot of fun. And then CV over everything. You have CV over your direction. You have CV over randomizing the note it jumps to. So like, let's take this lane here for a second. And if we make a high voltage over here, it'll just jump to a note randomly within the note selection and octaves range that you have. And you can also just use this as a straight up quantizer. I'll just pull this out here. It'll just quantize within the notes that you have, but it'll also transpose the octave. So the higher voltage, it'll push your arpeggiation up, you know, so you can arpeggiate and quantize at the same time, which is a lot of fun. But I'll pull that back out, and I'll put this guy back in here. So you have CV over transpose, scale, notes as well. You have CV over your slide time, CV over the slide rhythm, CV over the rhythm. You have CV over enabling and disabling the root. And then you have a new note out, which is just a trigger for every time it moves to a new note. You have a slide out, which is the gate for this rhythm. And then the gate out is a combination of new and slide gate. So it basically, yeah, you get the triggers on just new notes, and then gates when it's sliding or it's receiving a slide trig. Which is pretty nice. And then that's just that. And the triad, I also forgot to mention, you have an inversion switch, which gives you your root, your first and second inversion of the chord. So it just moves like
It rotates the voices around the house.
And shifts them up an octave.
It's nice to do like kind of pseudo sequencing, moving between chord inversions.
Yeah. It's a very subtle but like useful thing to have inversions, so we're really stoked about that. And then so after the Arpitecht, the next thing that we're kind of showing off here.
I heard Chris Randall was demoing this and calling it the Crandall.
Yeah.
I imagine that's not the final name.
Yeah, it's not the final name. We don't have a name for it yet, but it does have a nice ring to it, but I don't think that'll be it. But so
no one wants a Crandall module.
But basically, these are like, we're really into like tambourine and like auxiliary metallic percussion. So I'll just bring that channel in. So I have two of them going on over here. So let me mute. I'll mute this guy for a second.
It feels really grainy and noisy in a nice way.
Yeah. So you have these switches here that choose the fidelity of the sample. So like all the way to the left is your full sample quality, and then it degrades it a little bit, and then you get like
real crunch.
And then you'll have CV over that, so you get a bit of, you can get a smoother sweep of it too, and you can also get a bit harsher. So you have a decay envelope, you have a pitch envelope, and it's kind of tied to these two guys, so it kind of does some granular stuff here.
So are these like cymbal samples it's playing in the background, or? Yeah,
it's like samples of like just us dropping metal and like tambourines, and so the surface knob is your different samples basically, or textures is what I guess we're gonna call them.
And are these sort of samples gonna be changeable by the user, or is it just this is the vision for the module, these metallic surfaces?
It's the vision for the module is metallic surfaces. We kind of want it to be like, it's kind of an untapped area, I think. Like,
I like that it's gone that way rather than just an open sample platform.
Yeah. There's a lot of people doing it, so I mean, we try to be different. So you can get some pretty wild, nutty sounds with it.
Seems like there's loads of potential character and shaping.
It's pretty crazy. I had a pretty crazy pattern over here, I think. It's a bit more interesting pattern.
It's nice to have something that sounds a little more real, found sound and acoustic in nature over other electronic sound.
So it's really fun, like it's a nice industrial kind of sound for, like, I love using it for techno, so like just throwing a kick in front of it. It's just great.
Sounds great. Works really well.
And then I guess the last thing that's like pretty cool that we're showing off is the overseer and muscle. So everything right now is being compressed through our muscle, which is a stereo compressor.
It's got a real nice slap to it.
So basically right now this is listening to the compressor. This will bypass it with this switch. So when it's down, you're bypassing it. When it's in the center, it's just normal compression. And you also have sidechain, which is you can sidechain it with triggers and audio, basically. It's AC coupled, so you need like a pretty strong gate for it to like respond to it. But then I'll just go back to regular compression. So you have the compression knob up here, which is a combination of ratio and threshold at the same time. Then you have limit and...
all that on one control is great for performance as well. You don't want to be spending time dialing in 4 different settings.
Yeah, and then you have limit and threshold switches here, which is kind of set like the audio levels you're expecting to send to the compressor. So like when you're sending like louder stuff, you would have it over here, but then like quieter stuff to bring it back up. And then you have your attack and release knob and then makeup gain. And it gets nice and crunchy. I don't want to like mess with the cameras though, so I don't know.
Real nice saturation.
I love doing that with it. Like, I love redlining stuff. I'm kind of bad about that. But.
And that is, for anyone watching, that is just the module saturating, not the camera. So all that saturation's there when you want it.
Cool, yeah. And then, so the next thing right next to us, the overseer, which is basically a DJ style filter with a bypass switch. So let me pull this LFO out of it so we can hear it. So you have low pass when you turn to the left, and then high pass when you go to the right. You have your resonance knob. So one thing that's really cool about this is you have the stereo tilt. So stereo tilt basically offsets where the cutoff happens on the left or right first. So
you could create a mono image from a stereo image from a mono source.
Yeah, and it gives this really cool like stereo like field, and then like throwing an LFO on that and like
auto panning of the filtering.
It's really fun for that, and then like bringing out like all this stuff. Like you can do some cool stuff, and having the enable disable switch is really fun. So you can like just like turn it right back to just your dry signal, and then whip it back and do like, it's really fun.
And with the performance mixer that we've seen, and there's the video I did on that as well, but you could filter this out to nothing, still be cueing what you're doing, slam the bypass off, bring the mix back in.
Totally. And then so there's a couple of switches here. So the tilt switch here, like when it's in the center, like if you're low passing or high passing, you'll get tilt effect. This only does tilt on the low pass side. And then if we put it over here, it only does the tilt effect on high pass. But if you do it in the center, you'll get it on both sides of the filter. And then if I pull that LFO out, this switch here turns these knobs either into attenuverters or offset for your low pass and high pass. So you can control just the low pass with this guy, and then you got high pass here. You still have the master knob too. CV over. So you have CV over these guys. You have CV over the master cutoff, and CV over tilt, and CV on resonance too. So the resonance is tamed quite a bit just because you want it to be your like master filter. That's what we want.
Yeah, you don't want it to spike the whole PA system too much.
Exactly. So you don't want to give them like 3 kilohertz like of like just pain, you know. So yeah, that's I think that's all the new stuff that we're showing off. Oh, and the Modbox, which was actually doing the overseer filter cutoff. So the Modbox is a 3-phase LFO, so it's you have 1 rate and then a 0 phase, 120 out of phase, and 240 out of phase. And you have you can select sine, triangle, or saw for your wave shape. And then you have the skew LFO, which can be you can skew the shape, so from up saw, triangle, and down saw, and anything in between. You can CV the skew, and you can CV both rates. They're also tempo syncable, so
becomes divisions of the clock, and
yeah, and then so then the rate knobs become multipliers and dividers. So 12 o'clock is 1-to-1 on your clock, and then clockwise is multiplying up to I think 32 or 16, and then counterclockwise is dividing. I think it's 32 or 16. I don't remember exactly, but it's pretty sweet. And then you have on the skew LFO, it clocks a sample and hold. You have a noise source that's normal to the sample and hold input. Then you can also use an external source for sample and holding, and you can also externally trig the hold. So you can
a separate rate to the clocking.
You can remove it from the skew's clock and have an external clock for a sample and hold, which is nice. So it's really nice little dense module.
Yeah, great. Well, everything's sounding really good. Cheers for running down the stuff.
Yeah, thanks for checking it out.